Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Shrinking Season 1, Episode 9 review and reaction. This is the penultimate episode of the season. Everything that we are getting into here is building towards a finale that will hopefully be explosive and exciting and funny. Like, I actually know what happens, but still, this episode is really still once again about kind of paving the way for that.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been on a real journey here with Jimmy, but this was a real turning point for him. He is really ready to start moving forward, taking off his wedding ring, putting away clothes that belong to Tia, looking through that photo
Yeah.
album where he was just like, I guess this is all we got. I love you. Like, it was the first time I truly choked up watching the show.
It's really emotional, and it's just love can be complicated, but all love is complicated. And that's a message that this show really does a great job of putting out there and making everybody feel like this is about as emotional and heartfelt as anything the show has done, but it's also still really funny and really messy, like everything with Jimmy and Gabby often is.
Absolutely. There's a lot of funny moments, but this episode really got me in my heart.
All right. Well, if you want to get us in our hearts, be sure to join our Patreon. We have a link in the description below for that. Every Monday night, we are doing a live stream over there
Mhm.
talking all about shrinking. Also, we are in the midst of going through The Morning Show, another really great Apple TV Plus series, as well as our coverage of Justified City Primeval and Only Murders in the Building, which are in their current seasons right now.
Yeah, so hit that subscribe button. The morning show is going to be starting up September 13th. It's been a great ride so far, recapping the first season, going
Yeah.
through season 1 and season 2. So, yeah, stick with us for that.
Okay. So let's just start off here with that most of this episode is centered around this is Tia's birthday. This is a very important time for Jimmy. It's something that he's really trying to honor, but he doesn't really vocalize that to Alice. And he sort of explains it at the end that, oh, I thought you knew. I assumed that you knew, and I didn't want to put something more on you than it was already there. It's a classic sort of miscommunication where I don't think he's trying to be a jerk. He's trying to give her what he thinks that she needs, not realizing that she probably does need that because she's going through her other stuff as well.
Yeah, it's difficult to deal with that type of a situation because he doesn't want to step too much on her. You know, it could have gone the other way. It could have been, oh, just so you remember, it's your mom's birthday, and her actually remembering being like, I don't need you to remind me. Like it could have turned into that. It's a difficult situation, but more than that, this episode and everything that was going on with the birthday was for Jimmy. He is ready to move on. Her birthday's coming up. He's ready to just say goodbye and not, forget her or anything like that, but he's ready. He's still living and he's ready to move on, putting away her clothes, like I said,
Yeah.
going through that photo album, taking off his ring, hooking up with Gabby again. There is a lot, going to, her grave and being like, happy birthday. He's still honoring her, but he's actually also moving on. And it's so nice to be at this point with him because he's been frustrating through the show, but understandably so. He
Yeah.
is grieving very hard. It's very difficult for him to move on. I mean, some people never move on.
I feel like a lot of this season is really about Jimmy forgiving himself and sort of understanding more of, okay, I wasn't always the best husband. We had a lot of problems close to when she died. I have been, a bad father since she died, but, I can be here now. Like everything that has transpired in the past is the past, but nothing can take away the idea of presence. And that is the gift that you can bestow to everyone else, being there, hearing them, being there for them. Like these are the things that matter, and he's really starting to realize that. And it's not perfect, it's never going to be perfect, but he's evolving, and I think he's evolving into this person who a lot of people out around him will really like. It's just the question now becomes, is there a backslide? Is there any other problem that's going to emerge as a result of all this?
Yeah, I think it's a really inspiring message with this show that even though you can get into these dark periods or these heavy grieving periods, it doesn't have to last forever. You can get back up to the starting line. Even if you've left a bunch of wreckage behind you, there's always tomorrow. And that day can be the day that you get to the starting line. It doesn't always just have to be hopeless.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that about the show.
Yeah.
The worry that I had when I first watched this episode was that closing scene where Alice is just beating herself up, you know, time and time again already about, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot my mom's birthday. This is not okay. What's wrong with me? And this is coming on the heels of, this past episode when she learned the truth about Gabby and Jimmy being together.
Mhm.
That is a lot for her to take on in a pretty short period of time. And now Jimmy really has to find a way to help her, to be there for her. And she hasn't been that happy with him lately because she's been grounded. So it is a lot to sort of take on entering the finale.
It's actually interesting, you brought up the grounding, that the grounding has seemingly really brought them together in a way that she's having more respect for her dad. He's stepping up as a dad. He's not absent anymore, that he did have to ground her. And, they're sharing like music in these moments and all these types of things, that she's starting to find a groove with her dad, that it is turning into, not that she's forgetting her mom, but like
Yeah.
it's just a natural mistake. Sometimes that happens. You forget a birthday or an event or a date or something, but because her mom has passed away, it's hitting her way harder, where she's just like, I don't want to forget my mom. And forgetting her birthday isn't forgetting your mom,
No.
but she's a young person dealing with a lot of grief. But because her relationship with Jimmy is getting much better, and he's now in a spot where he's been able to kind of move forward and start to put things away and start to feel a bit more stable. Going into this finale, I'm really hopeful that he's going to be able to really be there for Alice in a way that he hasn't been before.
I really, really hope so. And I think with Dallas, it's nice sometimes to just know that somebody is going to hold you accountable for things where if you make a mistake or do something bad, they're going to tell you, because you spiral out of control otherwise. If no one is ever like, you're wrong or you shouldn't do this, you just have enablers around you all the time.
Absolutely. You want your parents, as much as people are like, oh, I didn't like it when I got
Yeah.
grounded, or, I did whatever. You want your parents to care about you. And if they're just kind of like, do whatever you want, whenever you want, don't worry about it, I don't care what you do, is basically the message that you're giving across. If you're not like, oh, you stole my car and, went to this college guy's room. Whatever you want to do. At that point, as a teenager, you're kind of like, do you even care about me anymore? Like, I stole your car. I went to this guy's room. Like, do you care about me? And it shows that, they really do care. So I think this was a really important moment for Jimmy to really, ground her, for her to look at it and be like, okay, he's back. He cares.
Yeah. And this episode and really the last one are a lot about characters sort of realizing this is what I need to do. I don't need to ask other people for approval. I don't need to overthink it. With Jimmy, I need to ground Alice. I don't need to get in my head as to whether or not it's the right thing to do. In this episode, you've got the aftermath of that, but then you've also got Paul, who sort of realizes, okay, what I need to do is be there for my daughter, not try to sort of finagle time with my daughter around some award I'm receiving, not try to sort of make her secondary to anything else, just have her be the priority. So I'm going to take my doctor lady friend, who I am now hooking up with after everything else this season, and we're going to go to the other side of the country and sit down at this auditorium and be just like, I don't know who she is, or about I don't know why she's there when it comes to his girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that he was probably gonna end up with the doctor, but I kinda thought he would probably move on to having a different doctor because, like, it's not a bit unethical to be dating your patient, but, whatever. I like that he's with somebody, and Gabby's reaction was just so funny, like,
Yeah.
it was a joke that just kept on giving through that whole thing, but yeah, seeing Paul try to be like, "Hey, Meg, you want to go to Vegas? Bring the family." She really thinks that it's like he heard her, that they're going to spend family time together. And then when she's like, "Oh man, there's this play, actually, I can't." And he's still pushing for the weekend, she realizes that it's about work and
Yeah.
it's not really about them. And it was really hard to see that conversation play out like that, especially since Paul knows that this is a problem.
Yeah.
He just had this huge fight with her where she left over exactly that. And then the next thing Paul does is the exact same thing. It was just like, Paul, you got to stop, tripping on yourself. You know what the problem is. And he fixed it in such a way that it just warmed my heart.
It was decisive. It was, I know the problem. I'm acknowledging it. I'm trying to make it better. He's still Paul. He's still just like, it's too hot in Vegas and like coming up with these
It
other.
is too hot in Vegas.
Yeah, I've never been to Vegas, but listen, I grew up in Texas where it was hot and humid all the time, and it's hot out here in Southern California. I don't need any more sun. Going to, I don't know, other side of the country, hot time of the year, that's okay. But Paul is moving forward. He's moving in the right direction. He's got, a woman in his life he cares about. Yes, this is very much unethical that he is dating his doctor, but it's also, I guess it's another reminder of why he hasn't been that upset about, Jimmy hooking up with Gabby, where it's just sort of like, I think at the end of the day, he really doesn't care so much as nothing interferes with the patients.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about Jimmy, Gabby. They have hooked up again. I think we all kind of saw that coming. I saw it coming anyways when she was sitting down with Nico and he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I've changed. I still love you. We didn't break up because we didn't love each other. I just need to get my what together and I have. Like, let's try this again." And instead of going off with Nico, she calls up Jimmy and she hooks up with Jimmy again. And she is again really pushing this narrative with them being in bed together. Just be like, "You're safe for me. There's
Yeah.
there's no feelings here. It's just, just us together, familiar. Like it's nothing serious." But the more she keeps pushing that, the more it feels like it's just a lie. Like that they are going to end up getting really serious with each other. I mean, how can there not be feelings there? They've been friends for a really long time, and a lot of the best relationships start out as friends.
I think they're clearly lying to each other and they're lying to themselves. I think they believe that, okay, this can just be safe, it can just be fun, there's no strings attached to any of it. Sure, if you guys need to say this to each other, like where I was first watching this show, entering the finale, like my big fear was that, okay, so much of Jimmy's life is kind of coming in the right direction now and it's getting better, but this has the potential to go haywire in so many ways because I was just worried if they have a fight, what does that mean for their practice? Do they end up taking it out on their patients? Is this going to lead to some more problems when it comes to Alice? It's one thing if it's just, a drunken hookup. It's another altogether if it's just like a reoccurring thing and, all of a sudden Gabby is in her life in a different way. And all these sort of questions were sort of spiraling out in my head just because relationships are messy and especially for people who are going through a lot of different things. I'm happy for the idea of the two of them being together, but
Mhm.
I'm very worried about what the idea of the two of them together is within this sort of world that has been established.
Yeah, especially since this first initial hookup came about because, Gabby was going through a divorce. They have this shared tragedy in their lives that they're, both grieving. And, a lot of relationships do start out that way with this shared grief that nobody else really understands. And it can get really intense when it's something that's really shared like that.
The one thing I really wonder about kind of at the end of the season is are Liz and Sean getting enough to do? because Gabby and Jimmy and Paul, like they really have taken center stage at this point. That okay, we're the big three for this show, and Liz and Sean have sort of had their storylines, but now it's just Liz and Gabby are friends now, and that combination can be pretty troublesome for some people. There's a good one-liner in that, and Sean, he's trying to work towards. He has this idea as to what he wants to be, but he's at Jimmy's place. He's reasonably sort of settled. Everything with him and
Mhm.
Alice and all that just seems to be kind of on the back burner now. Like, I is that a good thing for the show that it's focused at this point and these other people are kind of winded down?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that I was kind of hopeful for when Sean decided to go to Liz to be like, "Hey, that catering thing, I know it was kind of a joke, but it's
Mhm.
not kind of a joke to me. And here's a business plan. I've come up with all the stuff. I think I can really do this. I just need an investment." And, he brings Alice and Gabby as sort of help to try to push her into doing this. Derek says yes. And she's like, all right, I'll do this. And then she's like, hey, I'm really good at marketing. I'm really good at social media. I could really help you with this. I was like, yeah, okay, this could be really cool. Here are two people,
Yeah.
Sean, Liz, that they're kind of lost. They both need something. She has her rocks, but that's not really anything.
Yeah.
And, he really wants to have a job that he's passionate about. These two could really have something really cool together running this. But the minute that he was just like, no, I just need your money. You don't have to worry about it. You'll just be back with your rocks. I was like, oh, that kind of just like took the air out of that storyline. I'm really hoping they'll revisit it. But I mean, if not, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it really feels like it's once again a case of him sort of misjudging what she needs, sort of like, Jimmy misjudging how to communicate with Alice about her mom's birthday. But
Or
here,
what Liz could offer.
yeah, Liz could offer a lot, and I think Liz would love the opportunity to offer a lot and be involved in something like this, at this point in her life. I think she would be really eager with that. And I think
Mhm.
Sean, though, is just like, okay, I don't want to make this woman have to do all these other things. I've got it. I can take care of it. I think he's meaning well when
Mhm.
he's like, oh, I would just need the money. I don't need to do anything else. But it is sort of putting them in this spot where they're kind of at stasis, and now I'm just sitting here being like, okay, well, what are you gonna do with them now? Like, where is it they just gonna have like their own separate stories, kind of not really involved with the rest of the cast?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that Liz is going to end up speaking up and having that conversation with Sean in the next episode to just be like, let's do this together. Like, I'm an empty nester. Derek's home all the time. I really do need to get out and focus on something else. And I can not just offer you just money, I can offer you this other stuff. I'm really good at it. You can focus on the food. I'll focus on getting the food out
Yep.
there. Like, we can do this together. I mean, there's so many good stories that can be mined from that for those two characters.
In general, at this point, with the finale coming up, they have sort of set up a lot of different seeds that could spawn into something big in the finale that then could lead into season two. But what is so smart, I think, about the way that they have done that is that it's not just one character, it's not just two characters. Like, there are a lot of different directions they could go. And this isn't a suspenseful show. This is not like, some sort of thriller with there's fight sequences and people in danger, but these characters' mental states are in danger in a lot of big ways. And you sort of think in the finale, okay, is something going to go awry with Jimmy and Gabby? Paul is dealing with Parkinson's now. What's going to happen when it comes to that? How is Alice going to recover from how she feels at the end of this? There's a lot of
Yeah.
open doors.
Yeah. And how is Jimmy going to be at Brian's wedding? Because I mean, we saw him really. Brian came around and was like, okay, you can,
Yeah.
officiate the wedding again. And anytime he just said the word marriage, like he couldn't get through it. But my hope is that because we saw Jimmy at the end of this episode take off his ring, starting to feel much better, he's really done some healing, he's really faced a lot of his grief and fears of, moving on and feeling okay about moving on. I'm really hopeful that he's going to be able to stand up at that wedding and do a good job, do Brian proud, do himself
Yeah.
proud, and really be able to get through this.
Jimmy, I believe in you. Have fun at the wedding. Embrace it. Enjoy it. Maybe it will lead to new things on the other side, and there won't be some sort of giant mess for you to clean up in season two.
Yeah, because this is a real risk for Brian. Like I was surprised, to be honest,
Yeah.
that Brian backpedaled on that. I understand that he doesn't want to hurt Jimmy's feelings. They've been friends a long time. There was a whole year where he wasn't talking to Brian. I understand that Brian's like, "Oh man, I really don't want that to happen again. Like I'm so happy that Jimmy's back. I feel bad that he's going through all this stuff, but that is your wedding day.
Yeah.
You get one shot at this, and weddings are always like messy. There's always some kind of drama that happens. It's so much pressure already that you have to worry about the person that's helping you get through your vows, which is the most important part of the wedding. Anything else for me, anything
Mhm.
else can go sideways, but the vows are the most important part of this wedding. So like having that kind of a risk, I was really surprised.
Yeah, I understand him not wanting to hurt Jimmy's feelings, but you got to look out for yourself. You are standing on the edge of a cliff here, buddy.
Yeah, just have him be your best man. Have somebody else step up and officiate. Like it could be okay.
I'm Paul. I'm here to officiate.
Oh no, not Paul.
Let me get some Doritos.
Yeah, and he's gonna call him Kevin throughout the whole thing.
You can't. Why are you? Can you not be? He's also your attorney. Can you not be bothered to learn his name? Okay. Well, we'll tie this up now. There's a lot to get into at the finale. We're really excited about that. So be sure to join our Patreon. We got a link in the description below for that. We have live streams about shrinking every Monday night. Thank you to all of our supporters over
Thank you.
there, and we'll see you here next time.